discover the incredible journey to leave your past behind. A touching story of transformative hope. The rain tapped against the attic window, a steady reminder of the storm outside and the turmoil within Sarah's heart. She held a dusty, leather-bound journal in her hands, its cover worn, as if it too understood the weight of unfulfilled dreams. The words scrawled inside belonged to her late mother, a woman who had once stood on the brink of scientific discovery. As Sarah flipped through its pages, she felt a rush of exhilaration and fear. The dreams of her mother stirred something deep within her, igniting a flicker of hope, a hope she thought had died long ago. The ambition to explore, to create, had been buried beneath years of survival, economic hardship, and the relentless responsibilities of single motherhood. Yet here she was, standing at the crossroads. Memories of her own abandoned aspirations clawed at her thoughts. How had she let life persuade her to relinquish what mattered most? The gravity of necessity formed chains around her dreams. The diner, the grocery store, day after day grinding away at her spirit. But Lucas, her teenage son, was bright and imaginative, wearing a passion for science that mirrored her own youthful spirit. And yet, with every budding idea he shared, Sarah felt the stinging reminder of their economic struggles. Could she reclaim her past while nurturing his hopeful future? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the storm rumbled outside, so did the turmoil in her chest. The local community college sat like a towering obstacle, its very presence a reminder of how far removed she was from academia. A condescending professor had already made his opinions known. To him, she was just a single mother chasing phantoms. The thought made her stomach churn. She would not allow his disdain to drown her renewed determination. But the fear of failure loomed. What if she stumbled? What if Lucas's hopes for the National Science Fair crumbled because she was too busy chasing her own dreams? Lucas's excitement radiated around him, and yet she could see the shadows forming in the corners of his bright eyes. The pressure was palpable. The science fair was approaching quickly. Sarah's heart crumpled as she envisioned the weight on his shoulders, her aspiration forcing a rift into their lives. Should she step back, support him completely, or forge ahead into the unknown? The journal felt heavier in her hands. The night before the science fair, Sarah stared at her own reflection in the attic mirror, a woman split between past and present. The conflict was tangible, a knot in her throat reminding her of everything at stake. The door creaked open, pulling her from her thoughts. A familiar face appeared in the threshold, sending shockwaves through her. Memories flooded back, critical voices that whispered she would never succeed. Uncertainty washed over her just as the rain continued its relentless descent outside, amplifying the chaos in her mind. As the storm intensified, so did her resolve, or was it despair? In that moment, standing amidst the remnants of her mother's dreams, Sarah faced an all-or-nothing synthesis of tension. Would she allow this unexpected visitor to close the door on her aspirations, or would she confront the voices of doubt for both herself and Lucas? The clock was ticking, and the path of redemption felt more precarious than ever. Sarah hesitated for a moment, the weight of her past pressing in around her as she absorbed the figure in the doorway. John, her old high school classmate, stood there, uncertainty etched across his face. Once a bright star in the science field, he now carried echoes of regret. Would he become another reminder of the ambitions she'd abandoned? Or perhaps an ally in her quest for rediscovery? Sarah, he began, his voice trembling slightly. I heard you were back in town. I wanted to check and see how you're doing. His presence unleashed a tide of mixed emotions. She remembered moments spent in spirited discussions, dreaming of great experiments, and pushing each other to reach the heights of their potential. Before life had swept them away into different currents. Now he seemed fragile, and for a fleeting moment, she felt an uncharacteristic desire to comfort him. Yet, at the forefront was the urgency to reclaim her own aspirations. Okay, she replied, measuring her words as though she were trying to articulate them through thick glass. Just trying to get things sorted out. What do you mean? He asked, crossing the threshold of her attic sanctuary, uninvited yet insistent. Instead of shutting the door on him, she found herself offering a hesitant smile. My son is preparing for the science fair. And honestly, I think it's time I stop being just the waitress at the diner. John's eyes brightened, curiosity igniting. That's fantastic. You've always had a passion for science. What's holding you back? Holding back the swell of frustration in her throat, Sarah pondered for a moment. She had always been the one to push boundaries, to explore ideas. Yet here she was weighed down by years of worry and loss of vision. Fear, I guess. I don't want to fail. I can't let Lucas down. He's got so much potential. Then make a plan. You're going to need more than dreams, John said, his confidence unsettling her even more. I can help you draft something. I've been involved in research projects already. We could collaborate like old times. The thought sent a warmth through her, a connection, a nostalgia that mingled with a surge of determination. John, her old friend, could be a catalyst, not a hindrance. Yet, the shadows of her inadequacies loomed large. What if their professional collaboration strained her relationship with Lucas? What if they failed? Are you sure you want to get involved with me again? She questioned, a mixture of hope and skepticism swimming in her mind. Absolutely. We've both been through difficult times. But isn't it time we used those experiences to fuel something? He took a step closer, concern evident. You still have that spark, Sarah. Don't let anyone extinguish it, not even yourself. The tempest outside howled louder, as if echoing the battle within her. Secrets from her past flickered just out of reach. Memories of equations and experiments bombarded her thoughts, forming a nexus of determination. The very idea of stepping back into that world ignited a powerful reminder of who she once was. She inhaled deeply, her heart racing with the simultaneous explosion of excitement and fear. All right, she replied with unexpected boldness. Let's draft that proposal together. As they sank into the world of possibilities, the storm outside gradually morphed into a faint background hum. A chance to reclaim her destiny was unfolding, yet uncertainty writhed in tandem. Would their collaboration ultimately enhance Lucas's burgeoning dreams? Or would it derail their fragile stability? In that moment of renewed hope, Sarah recognized something crucial. She had faced the first of many barriers standing in her way. But lurking just past this exhilaration, the next hurdle loomed ominously somewhere in the depths of her own psyche. The harshest critic awaited her. Tomorrow, the competition would begin, not just for Lucas but also for her. A reckoning was imminent, and this was just the beginning. What new fears would she have to confront in the days to come? The morning light sliced through the window, illuminating the cluttered remnants of Sarah's former life. A half-empty coffee cup, crumpled papers, and a dusty laptop sprawled across the table. The quiet hum of the world outside seemed to mock her indecision. Today was the day she would begin her collaboration with John. But the thought brought a gnawing anxiety, an echo of self-doubt that whispered she might be unworthy. As she set her feet on the cold wooden floor, determination mingled with trepidation. Today felt like standing at the edge of a precipice, with the winds of change threatening to push her off balance. What if this venture into science led her down a path of disappointment and heartache? She had spent years avoiding confrontations with her own aspirations. Yet, as Lucas had always told her, sometimes one must leap into the unknown to find solid ground. Today might be that leap. After a quick breakfast, she glanced at Lucas, who sat animatedly preparing his project. His enthusiasm reminded her of the unfettered joy she once felt while enveloped in scientific inquiry. It was contagious, an inkling of excitement surged within her, mingling with the apprehension of rekindling her own passions. "Lucas, you ready for a big day?" she asked, forcing a smile that felt like a mask. "Yeah, Mom. I can't wait to show you what I've got." "I've been testing my rocket propulsion model," he exclaimed, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Sarah felt a spark ignite in her chest. His excitement drew her closer to the brilliance she had once pursued: the mathematics, the physics, the possibility. As she prepared to meet John, Sarah's heart raced with uncertainty. She walked through the door, inhaling the crisp morning air as if the chill could cool her rising anxiety. The local coffee shop served as their meeting point. As she entered, the familiar scent coaxed forth memories of after-school discussions filled with theories and laughter. John was already seated, a few papers spread out on the table. His focus turned to her as she approached, and for a moment, his expression echoed the hope she felt inside. But beneath it, she recognized an underlying worry. Had he, too, come to this crossroads burdened by fears of failure? "Hey, I'm glad you made it." John gestured, inviting her to take a seat. "Thanks for having me." "I am ready," she replied, her voice wavering slightly. The tension dissipated as they dove into their discussions. Their ideas flowed freely between them, filling the air with renewed creativity. Sarah felt the inhibitions soften. She shared insights, posed questions, and together they navigated the labyrinth of scientific possibility. Each suggestion she made seemed to bolster John's enthusiasm. Yet moments of hesitation loomed. Was she truly equipped for this? There was a stark voice in her head that warned her of the risks. What if they failed? "John," she interjected during a particularly ambitious discussion about their project. "What if we can't pull this off? What if it's all for nothing?" His gaze turned serious, the playful glint replaced with a penetrating understanding. "We won't know unless we try, Sarah. Remember, every great scientist faced failures. It's part of the process. It's who we become in the face of those failures that truly matters." As the day stretched on, she became increasingly aware of how their collaboration reflected not just professional aspirations, but personal growth as well. Their conversation, once light and nostalgic, grew deeper, each revelation peeling back layers of her insecurities. "Sarah, you have all this knowledge and passion," John encouraged, gesturing animatedly as if to outline her potential. "Don't let your past define what you're capable of now." With every ounce of encouragement, a newfound resolve ignited within her. The barriers of her own making began to feel like fragile illusions. She could feel her old self stirring, curiosity and ambition intertwining. Yet just as she started to believe in her capabilities, a text from Lucas came through, shattering her concentration. The message hinted at trouble with his rocket model and a growing sense of frustration that he felt. Anxiety clawed at her throat as she realized she was caught between supporting her son and pursuing her own dreams. What direction would she take? As she gazed at John, the bright enthusiasm from earlier fading under the weight of impending responsibilities, she recognized the pivotal moment for both of them. Tomorrow would bring challenges not only in their collaboration but also within the bounds of her role as a mother. What awaited her now? A daunting decision that could alter the course of all their lives. She took a breath, feeling the weight of possibility hang in the air like a storm cloud, ready to release its tension. The real challenge loomed ahead: how to balance her son's needs with her own ambition. The next morning arrived shrouded in a pale mist, as if the world itself hesitated to unveil what lay ahead. Sarah sat in her kitchen, the coffee pot gurgling softly in the background. The fading echoes of her previous day's revelations swirled in her mind, yet an unsettling question persisted. Who was she now? The person who neglected her aspirations for a son's needs, or a woman ready to step back into the world of science? With every sip, she attempted to anchor herself in the present. Today held another meeting with John, and she needed to prepare herself. What if Lucas faced another setback? The thought gnawed at her, creating a rift between her roles as a mother and a budding scientist. She considered postponing her plans with John to give Lucas her full attention. But at what cost? Would the sacrifice feed her guilt or nourish her dreams? The familiar sound of Lucas's energetic footsteps interrupted her thoughts as he rushed into the kitchen. "Mom, look, I fixed the propulsion issue," he exclaimed, holding up a crumpled piece of paper filled with scribbles and calculations. He beamed with the kind of joy that reminded Sarah what passion felt like. "That's amazing, Lucas." Her heart swelled, a mix of pride and apprehension coursing through her. She urged herself to remember the mindset she needed to cultivate. "Do you want to show me how it works later?" "Yeah. I want to prove it actually flies." As she smiled at his eagerness, she felt the resounding echoes of her own dreams nudging her. Lucas was living proof the joy and excitement of discovery were still alive within their shared genetic lineage. Perhaps it was time she followed suit. The coffee cup growing cold in her hand, Sarah exhaled deeply. She was no longer on the brink of indecision. She was faced with a choice. Hers and her son's journey were intertwined. Supporting him, she could also validate her return to science. Arriving at the coffee shop, Sarah noted the buzz of conversations thrumming in the air. She spotted John sitting in their usual corner, his papers spread out like a map of uncharted territories. Despite her determination, she felt the familiar flutter of uncertainty in her chest. But today, instead of letting it paralyze her, she leaned into it. "Hey, excited for today's progress?" she asked, taking her seat. "Absolutely," John replied, his eyes sparkling with anticipation. They launched into discussions about design models and experiments, a natural ebb and flow of ideas igniting the air around them. Halfway through their meeting, Sarah noticed John's sudden pause. "What's bothering you?" she asked, her voice steady as she gestured toward his furrowed brow. "It's just sometimes I feel like I'm holding back because I don't want to overshadow your thoughts," he admitted. His vulnerability struck a chord deep within her. It was a revelation. They were both standing at the same precipice. "You aren't. I've held back so much, but I'm beginning to realize it's okay to push the limits." As they delved into more profound discussions, nostalgia for their old days mingled with a refreshing new perspective. She felt the tension of inadequacy slip away like a cloak. Ideas flowed freely now, each one igniting another. This symbiosis pushed her towards rediscovering her voice, the burning desire to reclaim a purposeful life. Yet, as they strategized over a concept for their project that could make an experimental breakthrough, her phone buzzed again, slicing through the moment. A new message from Lucas. "I'm gonna be late. I think I messed up again." Panic surged within her. Torn between two priorities, she felt the weight of disappointment settle on her shoulders. Would she abandon her path just when she started feeling empowered? In that poignant moment, Sarah grasped the complexity of her reality. It was not just a question of balancing work with motherhood. It was about recognizing the strength in pursuing both. Each role shaped her, not as a burden but as layers of a singular identity. "I have to help him," she decided, the words tasting bitter yet liberating. "Of course, let us wrap this for today," John said with understanding. "But remember, you're doing great things here." The rush of gratitude filled her lungs. She hurried out of the cafe, determination fueling her every step. Today might not yield a breakthrough in science, but it could nourish the bond she shared with her son. As she headed home, another thought nagged at her. Could this decision awaken something else inside her? A surge of ambition long thought dormant? The reality of motherhood often encroached on her dreams, but maybe, just maybe, there was still a space for both. A question lingered. How would she face the mixed identities of mother and innovator? Tomorrow promised another meeting with John, and with it, the prospect of unveiling a newfound strength. But for now, the stakes were becoming increasingly high. What path would she carve for herself amidst this growing tension? The next day dawned with a palpable sense of anticipation that hung in the air like the scent of rain. Sarah awoke with a renewed sense of purpose swirling in her chest. The cognitive dissonance of balancing her roles had sparked an ember inside her, igniting a desire to explore her identity as both a mother and a scientist. As she prepared breakfast, her mind raced through possibilities of what lay ahead. Meeting John, discussing tomorrow's project, and untangling the emotions that intertwined her love for her son with her commitment to reclaiming her professional voice. Laser-like focus replaced hesitation, propelling her forward. She was determined to find a way to integrate their pursuits rather than treat them as separate worlds. Lucas emerged from his room, eyes shining briskly with a fresh idea. "Mom, what if we designed a drone that delivers supplies for science experiments?" he proposed, enthusiasm pulsing from every word. "That is a brilliant idea, Lucas." Inspired by his creative zeal, Sarah felt the boundaries of her reality expand. "We could not only build it but use it to enhance your learning experience." A thrill ran through her, resonating with the notion that collaboration could be the bridge between her past aspirations and her present motherhood. This was not just a distraction from her own goals, it was an opportunity for shared discovery, a chance to rejuvenate both their journeys. Once Lucas left for school, Sarah sat down with her notes, ideas swirling on paper akin to the chaos echoing in her mind. She envisioned how every breakthrough could tie in with Lucas's interests and strengths. Research papers piled nearby served as both inspiration and a reminder of the woman who had fiercely pursued her master's degree. The morning slipped into an afternoon filled with quiet contemplation and fiery ambition as she prepared for her meeting with John. She reminded herself that decision-making required courage, and today would be a day of choices not just for her but for the project that represented her renewed commitment to herself. Upon arriving at the coffee shop, Sarah found John already reviewing sketches of their designs. She felt a rush of adrenaline. As she took her seat, she could see the spark of creativity in his eyes and decided to seize the moment. "John, I've been thinking," she began, her voice steadier than she expected. "What if we pivot the project to include an educational component? We could create a platform that engages kids with science through hands-on projects, like the one Lucas suggested." John looked at her, his expression shifting from surprise to intrigue. "That's an interesting angle. Could broaden our reach and impact." Every word fueled her confidence. They exchanged ideas, each suggestion leading them deeper into the exploration of potential. Sarah felt as if she were shedding layers of doubt, the weight of past indecision dissipating into energy that brought both their visions to life. But as the conversation flowed, another text from Lucas interrupted their creative momentum. "Mom, I really messed up today. I think I'll lose my chance for the science fair." Sarah's heart sank, but this time she would not allow panic to derail her. "We'll figure it out, Lucas. I'll be there when school ends." With urgency pulsating through her, she turned back to John, whose brows were knitted in concern. "I have to go. Lucas is struggling right now, but—" She paused, steeling herself with resolve. "Can we finalize our project outlines tomorrow? I want to be full steam ahead after this." "Absolutely," he replied, the weighty conviction in his tone echoing her own determination. Here was the perfect storm of ambition and responsibility. Lucas's challenge would evoke not just nurturing instincts, but a call to action that demanded clarity for both their futures. As she rushed out, the intensity of the moment ignited her resolve. What if in responding to Lucas's needs, she found even more profound connections to her own aspirations? Perhaps the path was not just about embracing both identities but intertwining them into something far more extraordinary. Pregnant with potential, she sensed the convergence of possibilities, where support and ambition could harmonize rather than clash. This twist of fate would not merely shape the paths for both her and Lucas but could redefine who they were as individuals. As she drove home, the question shifted in her mind: was this her moment to embrace vulnerability and transformation? Could she simultaneously be the innovator her career demanded and the nurturing mother Lucas deserved? The clock ticked ominously, reminding her that time was fleeting. Each decision loomed large, delivering both excitement and trepidation. In this delicate balance of identities, would she find the bridge that unified her dreams with reality? The stakes were higher than ever as the moment of truth soon beckoned, demanding clarity in a world of chaos. As Sarah pulled into the school parking lot, her heartbeat drummed in time with her racing thoughts. Lucas had always been so astute, so eager, but his text had hinted at a deeper level of stress than she'd anticipated. Today was a pivotal moment, a test of both her parenting and her professional aspirations. What if she didn't have the right answers? Navigating the chaos of students and parents, each face seemed to carry its own stories, burdens masked behind practiced smiles. Sarah felt as if she were caught between two worlds, one of parental nurturing and the other of scientific ambition. She spotted Lucas hunched at a picnic table, scribbling frantically on a piece of paper, his frustration palpable. As she approached, her heart ached at the sight of his despondent figure. "Hey, buddy," she said softly, taking a seat beside him. "Tell me what's going on." "I messed up, Mom. I was supposed to submit the model for the science fair, and I didn't even get it started." His voice was a mixture of anger and disbelief, channeling the hurt into his words. Grappling with her own stress, she reminded herself of Lucas's capabilities. "This is just a bump in the road," she encouraged, the need for resilience surfacing in her voice. "What if we turn this into something new? We still have time. Let us think through a plan." The spark of hope she intended to ignite flickered as he glanced at her, skepticism mingling with a glimmer of determination. "But how? I'll never win now." "Winning isn't everything," she reminded him, anchoring her conviction into reality. "It's the learning and effort that count most. How about we rework your idea into something even greater? We can use the drone concept." His brow furrowed as he processed her words, the tension in his shoulders beginning to ease. "Maybe we can build something that shows how drones can help scientists." "Exactly. We'll make it fun and interactive. You know how we always said science should be hands-on." She felt the swell of her own professional identity intertwining with her role as a mother. Each moment of inspiration they created together fueled her growing confidence. As they brainstormed, Lucas's excitement returned, rejuvenated by their shared purpose. The ease with which he transitioned from despair to engagement mirrored her journey, a reflection of their intertwined aspirations. Sarah recognized how deeply intertwined her happiness was with his growth. Here she was, not merely to guide but to co-create, proving to herself that she could indeed navigate both worlds. Suddenly, a realization struck. The project was not merely a means to participate in a fair. It was a testament to their collaborative strength. But this revelation also revealed a challenge. How would she channel this energy back into her work with John? As they finalized their drone concept, Lucas's laughter lightened the air, but her thoughts drifted again to tomorrow's meeting. She knew she needed to have a solid proposal ready, one that felt authentic to her newly realized vision. The shift she felt today was not confined to motherhood. It spilled over into her professional life, demanding the same clarity and commitment. Leaving the school, Sarah's mind was buzzing. The discussions she had with Lucas ignited plans for tomorrow but also an insistence on authenticity in her professional decisions. The insecurities whispered at the back of her mind began to quiet as new possibilities for both her and Lucas emerged. She would not compromise. Instead, she would mold their ambitions into a unified vision that reflected who they were becoming. Yet just as she recommitted to her dual roles, the phone buzzed with a new message. It was from John. "Can you discuss the project changes? I think we need to rethink our approach now." The words hung like a cliff, raw and charged with potential. Would John's willingness to pivot match the depth of her insight? Would they be on the same page? Sarah felt the rush of adrenaline once more. Each decision now seemed magnified in significance, not just for her work but for her identity as a scientist and a mother. The moment was trembling with tense anticipation as she prepared to make her case. Could she ensure that both her professional pursuits and her responsibilities as a mother thrive? As she considered her response, she felt the weight of the moment pressing down, propelling her into the unknown, yet beckoning her with the promise of a horizon she was ready to embrace. Could the crossroads before her be the turning point she had been waiting for, or would it lead her to confront the very doubts she sought to overcome? The next morning, Sarah woke with the resolve of a soldier preparing for battle. The shadows of doubt that had plagued her previously felt diminished, replaced with a fierce determination to advocate for her vision. She sipped her coffee, the heat contrasting with the chill of uncertainty that lingered in the air. Today was not just another day. It was a pivotal moment for her career, an opportunity to merge her personal and professional aspirations. As she finalized her notes for the meeting, Sarah found herself recalling the collaborative energy she had shared with Lucas. It shifted something within her. It was more than just a mother-esque connection with her child. It was a profound understanding of co-creation. How could she translate that into her professional work? The thought sparked a series of innovative ideas, urging her to embrace the very aspects she had previously hesitated to express: vulnerability, creativity, even her unique parenting perspective. When she arrived at the office, the usual chill of the sterile environment enveloped her, but she pushed through, focusing instead on the warmth of her intentions. John was already there, his expression intensely serious as he looked over the proposal she had sent the night before. "Let us see what we've got," he said. But Sarah noticed the flicker of skepticism in his eyes. "Before we dive in," she started, gathering her courage, "I want to discuss my vision for our project. I believe we need to rethink our approach entirely, making it innovative and impactful." John raised an eyebrow, intrigued yet clearly unprepared for the boldness of her suggestion. "All right, I'm listening," he replied, leaning back slightly, which she took as an invitation rather than a challenge. Taking a deep breath, she presented her thoughts on integrating an interactive element into their research methodology, similar to the way she and Lucas conceptualized his science project. "Think about it incorporating hands-on experiences not just for us, but for our target audience. It changes engagement." The longer she spoke, the more she could see John's demeanor shift from doubt to consideration. Yet a pang of nervousness cut through her excitement. What if he thinks it's too far-fetched? She questioned internally, each second ticking away as she awaited his response. "That's interesting," he said finally, but she could tell he was holding back. "I'm not sure how well that would fit into our current framework." Sarah pressed forward. "But it could. We have a chance to create something original that reflects real-world applications. This project can lead to solid advancements in our field. It's not just about publishing findings, it's about making a difference." The words hung in the air, heavy with potential. The room felt charged as John leaned in closer, his fingers tracing the notes on the table. "You're passionate about this." It wasn't a statement. It was a recognition, a hint of respect emerging from under layers of corporate indifference. "Exactly," she replied, realizing how the exchange echoed conversations she had with Lucas, the pride they built in collaboration. "We can push boundaries if we combine science with real-life impact." But even as clarity began to bloom, Sarah was aware that they had only scratched the surface. In her gut, she sensed more complexity ahead. Would John's newfound openness lead to a change in direction, or was he simply placating her with polite interest? As the discussion wore on, her thoughts flickered back to Lucas and the drone project, a reminder that her success transcended professional accolades. It intertwined deeply with her role as a mother. Could that connection sustain her as she navigated uncertainty? The meeting moved on, but as she and John exchanged ideas, Sarah felt the tension shift, a subtle yet palpable change arising between them. Yet just then, another message pinged on her phone, breaking her focus: an email from the board about potential budget cuts that could impact their project significantly. The implications hit hard. The proposed changes she had so passionately argued for faced immediate jeopardy, raising the stakes alarmingly. Would the strides she made be swallowed up by systemic obstacles? Was she ready to confront the severity of the situation? As her heart raced and her breathing quickened, Sarah realized she was at yet another crossroads, more daunting than the last. Would she capitulate, or would she fight back, finding new ways to sustain both her ambition and her vision for change? The time for decisions was at hand. Would she have the strength to advocate not just for her ideas, but for the very essence of who she was becoming? Sarah stared at her phone, the harsh fluorescent lights of the office flickering above as the weight of the email loomed larger than life. The language was clinical, yet biting. Budgets were being tight and projects like hers at the risk of being snipped away like dead branches from a tree. Another reminder of the constant tension between aspiration and reality. "Budget cuts," she whispered under her breath as the words echoed in her mind. They represented not just numbers, but the potential loss of everything she had fought for, the innovative ideas she had just pitched, the collaboration she hoped to foster, and her growing self-respect within the corporate world. Looking up, she met John's eyes across the table. He was still skimming through her notes, oblivious to the internal turmoil churning within her. Had he realized the consequences of this development? Would he see her struggle as a sign of weakness, or would he recognize the opportunity to adapt like she had suggested? Sarah? John's voice broke into her thoughts. Are you all right? Just saw an email, she replied, carefully maintaining her composure, though uncertainty gnawed at her. It seems we need to think critically about our proposed direction. He frowned, finally looking up. What kind of cuts are we facing? The kind that could jeopardize everything we just discussed. She admitted, each word heavy with implications. If we don't find a way to prove the value of our ideas, this innovative project may never take off. His eyes widened slightly, and Sarah sensed a flicker of concern mingled with a dose of newfound urgency. We'll need data that stands out, compelling reasons to move forward stronger than we ever have. Have you thought of alternatives? The question ignited something within her, a flame of resolve that had dimmed just moments ago. I was actually considering a two-pronged approach. We can carry out our original methodology and introduce an interactive pilot program that requires fewer resources. We need to showcase immediate engagement with minimal investment. John nodded, pen tapping his notebook rhythmically, each beat punctuating Sarah's pounding heart. That's a start, but will it be enough? Could it be enough? She took a deep breath, wrestling with a growing sense of clarity and determination. I can leverage my connections from the school district. Perhaps we can source volunteers and set up partnerships that align with our project goals. It's time to think outside of our current constraints and consider how we can innovate with the resources we already have. The idea flowed like crisp air into a tight chest. The more she spoke, the clearer her strategy became in her mind. Transitioning from merely surviving within a limitation-driven system to actively creating pathways for growth reflected not just professionalism, it mirrored her evolution as a mother, someone who nurtured, challenged, and stood unwaveringly for her child's vision. So you're proposing a shift in both methodology and engagement strategy? John asked, a nuanced respect beginning to influence his tone. That's ambitious may be what we need. Her pulse quickened with each passing second, each flicker of understanding forging a path through the fog of doubt she carried. Could she stand firm, push through, and shape this project in a way that honored her vision without compromising who she had become? As they brainstormed, collaborating on strategies to project their value to the board, a sense of exhilaration began to wash over her. The adversities she faced were becoming stepping stones. She could forge a hybrid of her visions, a personal and professional synthesis that might just be the key to unlocking broader perspectives within her field. But then, as John jotted down notes, that initial excitement was interrupted. She received yet another ping on her phone, an external message exclusive to her. It was from a fellow researcher who, unbeknownst to her, had faced a similar struggle and was managing to turn adversity into opportunity. The message revealed a hard truth. Sometimes, blockades could reveal golden opportunities for lateral moves, a chance to pivot in ways she had never considered before. Was her journey becoming about more than just one project? Could this connect her to people who understood not just the rigors of academia, but the nuances of balancing aspirations as a parent and a professional? As the possibilities unfolded in her mind, Sarah felt the threads of her life weaving together, past, present, and future intertwined into something endlessly complex yet uniquely beautiful. But the looming budget cuts still gripped her heart tightly. Navigating this unpredictable storm would test everything she fought for. The stakes were higher than ever, and the implications of failure were daunting. What would it take to not just survive, but thrive amidst these challenges? This time, she wouldn't just ask for permission. She would lay her foundation and take a stand. Her resolution crystallized with each idea exchanged, but uncertainty still gnawed at the edges. What if the board found their novel approach still too radical? What if they dismissed her ideas altogether? The moment had arrived where she would have to confront not only the external barriers but the inner doubts that still lingered. Would she be brave enough to claim her place and advocate for her vision amidst the systemic pressure? Heart pounding, Sarah braced herself for the next round of challenges. Would she demonstrate the resilience needed to transform her aspirations into reality? Or would she retreat into the shadows of conformity? The tension escalated as she prepared for the next decisive steps ahead. The meeting with the board was looming, and she would need not just strategy but unshakable courage to navigate the turbulent waters of institutional expectations. What revelations awaited her there, and would she find her voice amidst a chorus of doubt? The meeting room was cold, the air thick with unresolved tensions. Sarah inhaled deeply, aligning her thoughts as she prepared to present her vision to the board. Each tick of the clock felt like a reminder of her self-imposed urgency, escalating the weight of the moment she had worked tirelessly toward. John entered beside her, sporting a confident expression that made her heart race. He likely compartmentalized the anxieties surrounding budget cuts, focusing on their united front. But Sarah's mind was split, caught between the potential of her proposal and the gnawing anxiety that accompanied its execution. Remember, the key is to convey confidence without overstating our position, John whispered just before the door swung open, leading them into the boardroom. As they took their places at the head of the long, polished table, she quickly scanned the faces of the board members. Each one was a mask of seriousness, their opinions hard to decipher, but their postures conveyed a clear message. They were here to scrutinize closely. "Good morning, everyone," John began, projecting an air of assuredness. "Today, we're here to present an innovative approach designed to maximize engagement while managing limited resources. Sarah will detail our strategy moving forward, focusing on a pilot program that promises to deliver measurable results." With the spotlight now on her, Sarah felt an electric surge of adrenaline. A rush of determination pushed through her nerves, momentarily silencing the voice of doubt. Taking a breath, she launched into her presentation. Words flowed from her like a stream, each idea blossoming into fruition as she outlined the effectiveness of leveraging community partnerships for their pilot project. Her passion was palpable, the knowledge she had painstakingly crafted shining through every detail. She shared examples from her previous experiences, painting a vivid picture of how adaptability and collaboration could turn constraints into pathways for growth. But amidst her enthusiasm, a question emerged from a board member. Why should we invest in a project that remains untested? What risks are you prepared to mitigate? The room tensed, and Sarah felt the eyes of her colleagues boring into her. This was a direct confrontation with the risk of failure she feared. Grappling with the enormity of the challenge, she paused, gathering her thoughts and reframing her stance. "Every innovative project carries inherent risks," she replied, grounding her voice with authenticity. "The danger comes not from exploring new ventures, but in failing to adapt to the evolving landscape of our field. This pilot program provides flexibility, allowing us to collect valuable data and pivot efficiently as necessary." She sensed a shift among the board members, a flicker of intrigue igniting their initial skepticism. Their heads nodded slightly as she continued, tying her arguments to her unique narrative as a mother and a professional. "As someone who balances both roles, I've learned that adaptability is essential not only for my family but for the projects I'm passionate about. With the right investment, we can turn unpredictability into opportunity. It's time to demonstrate our capacity for innovation." The engagement in the room transformed, the conversations growing animated as questions turned into discussions. Yet another board member interjected, pushing the envelope further. "But Sarah, how do we measure success if we're venturing into unknown territory?" Sarah didn't falter. She recognized this as a turning point to convert skepticism into connection. With clear metrics and benchmarks, she asserted, "We can track progress and adjust our approach as needed. But we must commit to a culture of experimentation instead of avoidance. This project represents more than just a program. It's about challenging the status quo and redefining what success looks like in our field." For the first time, she felt unity in the room. They were sensing her resolve, allowing her vision to resonate with their own professional aspirations. As the meeting drew to a close, a tangible pulse of excitement lingered in the air. Sarah knew that despite the budget cuts looming above, she had dared to carve a path forward. As she and John exited alongside one another, he turned, his brows furrowing in both confusion and admiration. "You really connected with them, Sarah. That last part about redefining success. It was powerful." Her heart raced at his compliment, Yet uncertainty lingered just beneath the surface. But what if they still dismiss us? John shook his head. You showed them the importance of growing and adapting, not just surviving. She was grateful for his support, but a new thought echoed in her mind. Had she truly managed to present solitude and leadership all in one? Could she accept that there were tangible probabilities, not just outcomes, shaping her experience? John, she hesitated, suddenly aware that her journey was no longer confined to those walls. This experience, it has transformed me. I have this sense that it's larger than just the project itself. He met her gaze, understanding gleaming in his eyes. And just as they reached the exit, Sarah's phone buzzed again. It was another message, a vague but urgent invitation to a conference that promised to merge innovative educational strategies and grassroots efforts. Was this another door opening? As possibilities unfolded in her mind like petals, she wondered if it was time to embrace not just the challenges already laid before her, but the new realities forming on the horizon. What might this conference reveal, and could it provide the missing piece she craved to solidify her vision? The tension of anticipation hummed within her, blending hope with the need for action. Days slid by uneventfully until the conference arrived, pulling Sarah away from her daily obligations. It loomed like a beacon of opportunity, twinkling with potential, and she could feel a vibrant anticipation energizing her spirit as she stepped into the venue. This was where innovators converged, where ideas cracked open like shells to reveal possibilities nestled inside. She registered at the entrance, holding her badge that entitled her to share in this exchange of ideas. As she navigated through groups of enthusiastic attendees engaging in animated discussions, she felt the stirrings of her past aspirations blending harmoniously with her current identity. Each conversation buzzed with relevance and potential, and she was excited to join ranks with those who valued visionary thinking as much as she did. Moments later, she found herself seated in a panel discussion about innovative educational practices aimed at engaging young scientists. The speaker, a renowned educator with a reputation for integrating real-world experiences into the classroom, resonated deeply with her. His message transcended basic principles. It was a clarion call urging educators to become catalysts for creativity. Education isn't just about facts and figures, he emphasized. It's about sparking the flames of curiosity and using every resource available to light the pathways to discovery. His words surged through Sarah, compelling her to contemplate ways of adopting this mindset both at home with Lucas and within her collaborative project with John. This was the essence she craved to embody, a nurturer of potential who inspired both herself and her son to pursue bold ideas and embrace the unknown. After the session, Sarah approached the speaker and expressed her appreciation for his insight. To her surprise, they engaged in a lively discussion. She mentioned her aspirations to create a pilot program that emphasized hands-on learning experiences with young students, some of whom might be struggling just like Lucas once did. That's fantastic, he enthused. Have you considered partnerships with local schools? I'm part of a network that could provide support and broader outreach for programs like yours. It was as if a door had swung open, beckoning her into a realm of connections that could bridge her ambitions with actionable resources. They exchanged contact information, and she left the conversation buzzing with newfound certainty. The influence of the conference unfolded in Sarah's mind like intricate, nested possibilities. With renewed momentum, she began reaching out to her own network, weaving together collaborations and proposals that seamlessly linked her project vision to those of educators in her community. Her discussions with John progressed into a series of strategic meetings, revitalized by her explicit articulation of integrating the partnership idea into their pitch. Over the next weeks, they thrived, drawing insights and feedback from multiple stakeholders. The project transformed into a multifaceted initiative buzzing with enthusiasm and possibilities, supported not only by their initial research but bolstered by collective aspirations for younger generations. As she worked with John, Sarah recognized how her fears began to wither in the face of growth and collaboration. She was no longer straddling the line between competing identities. She had merged them into one, establishing clarity in her ambitions and illuminating a path ahead. At last, after hours of collaborative brainstorming, they were ready to present the expanded project proposal to the board. The anticipation pulsed through her veins, and she felt invigorated and confident. This time, she had forged a narrative that resonated deeply, showcasing not just the transformative educational potential, but the systemic changes they could catalyze within the community. During the presentation, Sarah took the lead. She adeptly navigated through the slides, illustrating both the positive impact on students and a method for sustainable growth. Each point she made felt validated, echoes of importance and connection imbuing the room as board members nodded in understanding. When the discussion turned to budget and sustainability, she provided insights from her network and showcased how collaborative partnerships would prevent a financial drain. Instead of relying on constrained resources, they had found a way to create a wider support base. At the meeting's conclusion, the board, flipping through their notes and murmuring excitedly about their growing vision, allowed her sense of anticipation to crystallize into an exhilarating outcome. She and John exchanged thankful glances, each aware that they had created something larger than they envisioned, something that straddled the very essence of who they were, while propelling them toward newfound heights. As the board unanimously approved their proposal, the sweet scent of accomplishment flooded the air. Merging their dreams and aspirations, Sarah found herself not just instilling hope in Lucas, but laying the foundation for children whose curiosities could bridge the gap into innovation. In the weeks that followed, her collaboration with Lucas transformed, too. Surrounded by the energy of possibility, she gave him the space to explore his own passions, nurturing his burgeoning ideas with confidence. Their relationship blossomed, strengthened by the understanding that they could both pursue their dreams together, no longer separate, but intertwined in purpose and spirit. The awareness of her journey began to take root. She had not only conquered the barriers of her past, but she transformed them into stepping stones towards a vibrant future. As she embraced the thrill of her achievement, Sarah stood proudly at the nexus of motherhood and ambition, poised to meet any challenges that lay ahead. "Mom," Lucas said one evening, excitement bubbling as he tinkered with his latest invention, "I think we should enter this into the science fair together." "Absolutely," she smiled, her entire body radiating the confidence of a woman who had learned to chase her dreams while kindling those of her child. Their laughter echoed through the hall, hammering against the walls, amplifying the triumph of shared aspirations, carrying them both toward the future. This was the moment Sarah had worked for, an acknowledgement of worth, an embrace of passion, and a testament to the power of unyielding determination. Sarah realized that she had at last found her home in the ever-evolving convergence of personal and professional life. Life was no longer just an uphill battle. It was a canvas alive with colors waiting to be painted. Now, let us harness that journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. True champions of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.